on social media, you can be whoever you want to be. Share whatever you want to share. You can share as little or as much. And it doesn't even have to be about you, but people still need to know a little bit about who you are, because your brand will show through.
Welcome to another episode of Optometry Profits Revealed. I'm your host, Peter Precht. Today, we are so fortunate to be with Dr. Kristie Nguyen, 18 years in OD. Right now, she is in a lease with Go Eyewear that she works a few days a week. We're definitely going to talk about Go Eyewear and the brand representation there. From the first moments I came across you on LinkedIn, we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn. You have always been supporting other parts of the community, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. We certainly want to talk about that. I want to talk about what a frame ambassador is a little bit too. And let's lead off with the Kazoku Lunettes. With that, any future or any weight? Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Peter, for having me on the show. I'm like super excited. So how I got involved with Kazoku Nets was about 3 years ago, right before COVID hit. Actually, he reached out and said, "Hey, we would like for you to be part of our brand as the brand ambassador. And would you be interested?" I said, "Well, break it down.
Right.
What is the brand ambassador? What are my roles?" He said, "Well, basically, you'll be wearing the glasses, you'll be shooting your own photos, and then promoting it on social media through your channels, and then bringing customers to us. And because they are an independent brand made in Japan. So I was like, okay, sure. I don't really like getting in front of cameras, but I can try to make this work. So, you have to bring out this persona when you wear certain brands. His brands are very bold, very loud. So I had to bring on this like devilish persona every time I take the pictures. If I'm not in the mood, I cannot portray the imagery. And that draws in a lot of, people's attention. So over the years, as I'm posting, I will get messages and be like, they'll ask me, "Hey, who is this glasses by?" And then that's how he has earned reps. We create new accounts for him. So I would make a commission from any of these ventures.
I think that's awesome. I really like something you just hit on where you're like, if I'm not in the right state of mind to do this, I'm not doing it. That is huge. And that's gonna connect back to some social media questions, because those are real true
Yes.
social media feelings that are absolutely translated through people
Mm-hmm.
read you. And that is one of the most wonderful things to know that that's still going on, because a lot of us question whether some of our teenagers can still read a face. And
Right.
thankfully that we know that that's not completely gone. That's a really good explanation of a frame ambassador. And you described yourself when we were talking just a moment ago as an introvert, and you're into
Yes.
fantasy. But so this was the precipitous of your content creation. You know, to talk a little bit
Yes.
about that. Talk to me about that journey.
So basically, about 7 years ago, I kind of got burnt out with optometry, and I decided I'm going to dabble in, of all things, direct sales. Well, you know what direct sales, you have to be on social media. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. My husband thought I was crazy. I thought I was crazy. But, after praying about it, I figured this has to be what God wanted me to do. So I went all in, because I'm not one of those people who just do things partially. I go 110%. So I learned, I plug in, I did whatever the leaders asked me. I put myself on social media. I created accounts that wasn't even there, and I started posting. That was the scariest thing, putting that first post out. I'm like, what if somebody judges me? Blah, 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 blah. But you know what? I was like, at the end of the day, it's just a post. At the end of the day, it's still me. At the end of the day, none of these people are paying my bills. So I need to do this for me. And I just do that consistently. And the next thing you know, people were watching.
Well, you and I were connecting in as we were talking about like how tech kind of comes to us, or we like see places where it can be used. We're not necessarily like the super savvy users, but once we'll get in and do it. And
Yes.
it's interesting how there are things about video that I consider myself an expert about that I would never have considered myself an expert about as little as 2 years ago. I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
So that that's kind of fun. And it's nice to know that you can learn
Yes.
something and immerse yourself, and you can do it at your pace. You can be
Mm-hmm.
fast, like you said.
Yes.
It can be 100%.
Or take it
Mm-hmm.
slow.
But you do it. You
You just
Right.
have to do it.
And I think
Yes.
that comes back to how often you're always supporting other people, not just with your posts, but you've got 30 some thousand followers. It's because of that. Talk a little bit about that, and let's connect that directly into social media, because you're a living example of how social media can grow connections in all these different directions. So
Well, it's because we're all people at the end of the day. We all are on our own different journeys. So for me, I feel like I'm barely starting out. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm just testing the waters. Each day I try something different to see if it works or it doesn't work with my network. And then I encourage other people to do the same thing, because they would text me in my inbox and ask me, like, how are you doing this? Like, where are you getting all this stuff? And I would take my time and I would talk to them. Sometimes it's just via text. Some people, I actually pick up the phone and talk to them for an entire hour for like a free consult. Because, it's something that's passionate to me, because I know what it feels like to be in their shoes when I first started out, and needing a leader or a guidance or somebody to just show me the ropes. So for me to be able to pay it forward, it makes me happy.
that's a huge part of what LinkedIn is all about. I know you were one of the first people I began to follow at all when I became a part of the community, and again, learning how safe some of those engagements can be. Because to be quite frank, and I talk about it on and off a little bit with my podcast, that some of the opticians forums aren't always so friendly. But LinkedIn is a really cross industry, cross culture, fantastic exchange
I love it.
of
I love it.
well, look at how wonderful that connection is with a Japan frame maker and
I know,
here,
right?
and we're able to immerse in that way, and for them to think forward and understand the ambassador part of it. um how
Mm-hmm.
does Go Eyewear connect into, explain Go Eyewear right now?
So Go Eyewear is pretty new, and it was actually through a mutual connection. Somebody I've known on LinkedIn for a while, and he was just like, "Hey, I know you're doing these ambassador stuff. I have a brand that may be interested in considering something like that at this time in their journey. Would you be interested in kind of just talking to them?" So, like I said, connection to connection, and then we just got on a call and we kind of talked and see if it was a mutual interest, and it just moved forward from there.
It's so, I think it's awesome when the small connections end up being something that's a little bit bigger
Yes.
than maybe you thought was actually there.
Like I never even, connected with that person thinking that this would be something that they
Right.
would present to me years later. So that's the beauty of networking. You just never know how somebody's going to connect you, or um, what they can make happen. So you always want to be nice to people, unless you're like they're total creeps, and you can block those. But for the most part, people are generally very nice, and it's good to connect and kind of share things offline. So there are things that you can do online, but like I said, if you can always take the conversation offline, I always encourage my followers to do that, because it makes it more authentic.
I agree with that. If you can ask some more things directly, and like you said, if the things are inappropriate, then whatever, you clean that slate. But it is true that most people are trying to certainly in our industry, are trying to find out an answer to something. Um, uh, I love how seamlessly the luxury market has dove in headfirst to recognizing Dr. Wynn to a degree as part, your emotion, your energy as part of the product, if that makes any
Yes.
sense. Well, to me, that's what social media is connecting with,
Hmm.
and I'm still learning that tremendously. But it is certainly a way for me to get content across regarding my business, but it's also a way to get content across that's regarding emotion or something
Yes.
that you are passionate about, and it gives you the opportunity to draw those lines in whatever boundaries you want.
Correct.
There we were talking about how the levels of what we're comfortable expressing
Hmm.
in our personal lives, and how that's kind of normal.
Yes.
But
So
but
it's all up to us what we want to share. I mean, on social media, you can be whoever you want to be. Share whatever you want to share. You can share as little or as much. And it doesn't even have to be about you, but people still need to know a little bit about who you are, because your brand will show through. So whatever it is that you enjoy doing or love, that can still be connected with what you're trying to promote educate or sell to other people. So if there's a little bit of personality in there, it's not so dull and it's not just, you know, a brand.
Completely. And you know, you talked about being noticed, and when you how you deal with that when you go out. I mean, do you feel that's an instant celebrity, or did that happen in a gradual way, or is it
I have no idea. I really have no idea. Before, like I said, because I am an introvert, I don't, and I am married with two small children at the time when I first started the
right?
business. I didn't go out very much. I didn't really go, I only literally went out for continuing education for like 2 days so I can get everything done and be
Right.
done with it for like two millenniums. But literally it's like now I make myself go to like local meetings so that I can meet people, people can see me, because a lot of times now people are noticing me offline before they notice me
Mm-hmm.
in person. So they start making
Oh
that
yeah.
connection when I am in person. So I make an effort to go to optical shows so that people can actually connect one on one, because it makes the connection even stronger to see that I am real and that, I am not like a figment of social media.
All right.
So it makes it much more powerful to show up at these events to see people. And I think one of the reasons I'm easily recognized is because I do post very consistently. I do
Mm-hmm.
showcase, different hair
Mm-hmm.
colors that I like to play with. That's my
Right.
creative side. But people can spot me a mile away by my hair color. So, which I thought was really funny because, like I said, I wasn't even doing social media until when COVID hit. And when COVID hit and we go to these trade shows, we were all masked.
Right.
So even with a mask on, people were still recognizing me because of my hair. So
Ah.
I think that's why I try to, coach people. You need to
That's
make a very
brilliant.
specific brand for yourself that's visible, because visual is
Mm-hmm.
a very powerful trigger. So if you can do something visual about your appearance and keep it consistent, people will relate that to you anywhere that you go. So even if they don't see you and they see it somewhere else, they're going to go, oh my God, look at that hair color. I bet you Dr. Kristie would look good in that hair color. But they make that connection. So, I always try to tell people, do something about your appearance that only you can do over and over and over, so that it plays a trick on people's mind. It's almost like subliminal messages.
That's very interesting. I mean, I know someone who's had blue hair for quite a few years now, and it is absolutely part of the ID. No question about it. There's even women I've worked with in previous jobs, same thing. It was certainly an identity, and it did stand out. I mean,
It
you
did.
don't,
Makes you remember them,
it does.
whether it be good or bad.
Well, hey, it's all part of the territory, but it is
Exactly.
it's personalizing. It's defining of who you are,
Yes.
and I don't see anything wrong with that. I actually like very loud and clear messages about how
Hmm.
an individual is, so that it's yeah, I don't, it's obviously not. Oh well, I'm going to approach them or I'm not going to approach them. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is
Hmm.
uh, you should be able to read someone so that maybe you speak properly. That maybe you say
Yes.
things the right way, or, how, that can be simple and that can be complex. But at the end of the day, we're all like we keep talking about. We're all about supporting and lifting each other up, which
Yes.
is
Definitely.
so. So you begin content creation. Then social
Yes.
media business connections begin to blossom out. At what
Yes.
point did A, B, C, D, F, where do these opportunities start to make some sense? Like, is there a point where there's like, oh, this is the roadmap to do this, or was it just
I
go?
have no idea. It's still whatever.
I like
So
that. Thank you.
I'm just doing random things
It's
all the time.
reassuring.
It's never consistent. So, some months it's like kind of slow. Other months it's like boom, 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 boom. I have all these activities going on.
Right.
So I just take it by stride.
Right.
So that's just how I take life anyway. So,
Absolutely. And there's a whole lot of change that's going on within our industry right now as well. Obviously, within the past week, we've heard that the massive merger of the four, bodies, the education component, ABOC and CLA, and the Optician Association of America, which will get to head everything, which is fantastic. And from an optician standpoint, we're very happy about that. What do you what do you see? Do you see their changes coming down the road? I mean, they talk about expanding licensure or whatnot. And then
I
how is this
think
going to impact
I
ODs?
can't.
Because being an OD,
Well, I mean, there was something that was just approved recently to allow one of the states for optometrists to do laser treatment. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, are there enough doctors to care for the patients, and what will they allow the doctors to do? I mean, I know that they're always trying to cross over between what ODs can do and then what MDs and DOs do in terms of ophthalmology. So, I mean, there's going to be some little crossover depending on the population and what's available. So it's a hard call, because I know I personally don't want to do it, because that's not why I went into optometry. I went into optometry because I didn't want to do surgery, but that doesn't mean that some of my colleagues don't push for that. So I say kudos for you, but that's just not something I want to do. So there's going to be people for and against it, but that's not for me to decide for somebody else. I'm just going to be, doing my thing. But I think it's good that, everybody has their own.
I admire you tremendously for positioning yourself in a position that you can do your own thing and think freely on these topics. You're not necessarily roped into any particular corner or whatnot. And really, I do admire that. But from a bigger standpoint, there's some real positives to everything elevating, and I've talked about it before on this podcast. I believe everyone should be elevating their game, from
Yes.
ophthalmology straight through. Of course, why shouldn't ODs be doing LASIK? Why shouldn't opticians be refracting? There's a tremendous shortage in ODs. There's a tremendous shortage of the ability to provide decent eye care to people that need it. We know there are communities, and we also know that in these communities, as soon as people have clear vision, all of a sudden everything starts elevating.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything.
Right. And I tell you, connecting those dots in an economic way out of optical is exactly what is happening at the trade show levels. And it is exactly what is going to be happening as we move further on through this year. I firmly
Mm-hmm.
believe that eyewear artwork will be a game changer to roll out technology. Um, how do you
Yes.
how do you see technology, and is there experience that you've had with technology that's gone good, bad, or ugly as an OD? Um,
Well, I definitely love technology. I think it makes my exam much more efficient. I can move through the exam and educate my patient a lot better with certain instruments that I have in the office. So I'm all for technology. So if it can make my exams more efficient, the patient feel like they're getting a better experience and gaining more knowledge about their eye health, then I'm all for it. So definitely technology.
you mentioned helping with AR or excuse me, with HR. You were at a practice,
Mhm.
and you were like, "Hey, look at you've got an HR answer.
I
I'm no
know.
expert, but I can do it." And so next
I
thing you
know.
know,
I was like,
you
well,
are the
I was
local
like, how
expert.
hard can it be? I was like, how hard can it
Right,
be? Let me just like watch all
right.
the tutorials and figure this out. Yes. So I made it work.
And you made it work, and you made it easier. And like you said, all of a sudden you free up time for people, and they're like, "Oh, well, look
I
what we can
know.
do."
And I'm always teaching my staff shortcuts that they didn't know about the app. I was like, why are you going like clicking 3 buttons when
Right,
you literally can click two to get to the same page? They
right.
didn't know. So I was like, well, let me show you.
I love that, and I'm constantly roping in people around me to teach me to do stuff like that, because you get roped into certain ways of going, certain pathways of going, and you don't realize stuff you miss. That's the other thing.
Hmm.
But I will say this: the more time you spend on social media, the more time you spend on LinkedIn, the more time you spend on Instagram, the more natural these things become to you, and you
It
also
does.
begin to understand and relate to what resonates in those communities. There's
Hmm.
certain types of things that you throw out, and people are like, "What? No." And you're like, "Oh, well, now I know. Now I know that's not at
No.
all what my people are interested in, or anybody following what I'm posting." Um, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but how or what made you take a channel public, and explain? I don't know if I can explain that any better, but you had stuff private, and then you did go public with it,
Yes,
and explain
I
that
did.
reasoning if you can.
Well, the reasoning is if you are a business or you're promoting some kind of product, you have to make yourself accessible to people, and it has to be easily accessible. If somebody has to take extra steps to get to know you, they're not going to do it, because people generally are lazy. So the easier you make the whole process, the better. So making your account public on as many channels as possible just allows, more people to see what you can offer.
Your LinkedIn page is like that. It is spectacularly easy to click, and you know, it's a nice segue into all of the different, things that you're connected to and what you're doing, how that's, how that's changing the playing field for you. To me, technology faces a real threat with trying to be introduced and hitting stumbling blocks as it is introduced. What advice would you give to technology companies or anybody who is trying to introduce something and maybe having a hard time or having a struggle getting it out there as openly as they could?
Well, it's a matter of being consistent. You just have to consistently share what you are offering. If people don't know what you're sharing, because you're only posting like every few days or something like that, then you're missing a lot of people who may not log in at that time or seeing what you need to share. But the biggest thing is that people don't realize is when they're trying to promote a product, they actually need to engage in other people's products or posts, because if they don't know who you are, why would they go back and check out your post? That's how these like platform, these social media platform work. You have to engage in other people's stuff for them to see your stuff. So the more accounts you engage in, people will start to see your things. You just putting a post out but not engaging in other section of that platform, they're not going to push your post up on someone's feed, because you're not helping the people stay on their platform. So you need to be on the platform for that to happen.
Yeah, it's not just about banging stuff out; it's about engagement. Um,
Yes, yes,
that's and it's about the right the right engagement.
yes.
I
You can always hire a
Yeah,
brand ambassador.
you're really good at this, though. I had created a post because Nathan Hill and I had done a podcast, and I do, do my shorts and then promote just like we're talking about. Um, but your comment was just, I don't know, it just resonated so hard with me because I find it's the truth. What you pay for is what you get. And it is so true with frames on your face. I mean, it is a disposable world, and there are products that are dirt cheap and made that way. But boy, you're going to pay for it. You will pay for trying to get through with something like that, because it's not just speaking to. We mentioned Kazoku Linettes. It's not just a name. It's it's a Japanese product that is made well.
Hmm. Yes.
Period. And well, that's also got to give you confidence, knowing that your
Hmm.
personality is part of the brand, knowing that what you're
Yes.
resonating out of you is part of the brand at that moment. Wh- Which can me
Hmm.
that can't be easy separating that from being an OD. Are you a totally different person when you go into being OD?
Yes. So when I'm with my patients, it's just on
Yeah,
one-on-one. So it's perfect for me because I could talk to people
right,
one-on-one, telling them about their health and how to take care of their eyes. That's easy for me. That's just what I
right.
do. But it's also hard at the same time because I have to learn about this person literally in just a couple of minutes, why they're coming in, what their personality is, what they do for a living, what they do for a hobby, so that I can help give them the best eyewear correction possible. Because a lot of times they know, but they don't at the same time. And I'm playing detective the entire time, trying to figure out what they really are trying to tell me so I can get them out the door and happy. And then me being on social media is completely different. I don't have to really tell anybody anything. It's just I share whatever I want to share. So a lot of time it's like motivation for myself, that I put out there because I feel like I needed to hear this today. And then the next thing you know, I guess other people need to hear it too. So, I mean, we're all going through the same thing, just different part of the journey is different, but we're all needing to hear words of encouragement and knowing that we're not alone and we're all in this together. So that's why I'm so adamant about just, supporting other people and what they're going through.
I think that message hits on so many different angles because it's not just about the individual trying to introduce it or who they're trying to sell it to. It's when you hear resonation with the patient base or customer base, if we want to call it that. Uh, Customer driven is almost always the way success grips hold. I mean, the first iPhones were, obviously they had an Apple product before that, but introducing that, you know, I'm sure it wasn't, yes, look how cool this is, but you got to learn to use it. How many people looked at it
Yes.
immediately and were like, nope, that's not as easy as the Star Trek one. It just flipped open, nope, I don't want any part of it. And these are the things that Caesar and I love to dig into is like, what is it in someone's head that makes them more well, for instance, you and I wouldn't have labeled ourselves tech oriented folks, as little as 10 years ago, or maybe even 15 years ago, or certainly less for me. But now, almost I don't want to say a complete expert, but definitely I know so much more about
Yes.
video production, editing, and it's not stuff I do personally, but I'm involved in it, and it's cool. I didn't know everything that was involved with what we're involved in doing, and and it gives a chance to have people tell their story,
Hmm.
relate to what they're doing, how it relates to where they're going, but how it's impacting the industry. And I think, you know, like you talked about, it's not just the posting, it's not just the content creation, which is huge. It's the consistent content creation and the
Yes.
engagement,
And the
because
engagement.
the engagement is revealing of who you are, what type of individual you want to,
Hmm.
project, and where you want to project it. uh, I like the idea of being able to keep certain things separate. I'm not a big fan of showing my family per se, or my grandchildren or whatnot online. But like we talked about when we weren't recording, or I do know people that do, but they'll like put funny faces, like a smiley face on their kids, like, so it's just as
That's more work for me. So
yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
with you.
just not post it.
I'm with you. Yeah, just draw the lines with, nah, I'm
Ah,
just not going to do
that's
that over
right.
there, and we'll do that over there. But that's how you draw those lines. Um, to me, that whole, you know, that whole aspect of human, what you're expressing of how you are, end product. I think that's the future of it's obviously it's huge part of the frame ambassador that you're doing, but I think it's going to be a huge part of the future of engagement, period. Opticians are engaging like we are. This is just we're just at the beginning of that, and that's obviously structured, but there's a relationship that forges there, and that I think is something. If you can keep the relationships going in a video way, that's huge, because sometimes there are people that relocate and they can't be in the same place, and patients and opticians get pulling apart. Patients and doctors, how many patients have relocated and they reach back to you like, can't, can't you give me an eye exam? I'm in Texas. Help me, Dr. Wynn.
I'm like, nope, you're gonna have to travel to see me. So I mean, the farthest I've had someone fly to see me was Arizona. So unless somebody want to, you know, beat that record right now, Arizona to Florida is the longest distance travel.
That's a good one. That's a, they hey, when you have,
They met me on LinkedIn. Ah,
see, I believe that. I had no trouble at all jumping in my car and driving 6 hours down to meet Dr. McDonald, because I wanted to get a grip on the background of where we are and connect it with,
uh-huh.
with where we're going. Because there's failures along the way, but we're learning, we're
Yes,
merging, we're growing.
always.
Yeah, and that to me, that's why we're doing what we're doing, and it's
Hmm.
why there are things that get introduced in a quick way, and then people figure it out. But
Yes.
it really, at the end of it all, if you can bring things together in a way that serves the patient first,
Hmm.
that that they should dictate everything, really.
Yes.
And we'll end real quickly on this, but that's a cool thing about eyewear artwork is patients will be there too. And I
Yes.
think that is a game changer. Not only that, the multiple industries involved, but that's a game changer when you have an
Because we have
opportunity.
way more patients than we have people in the profession. So.
Right. Yeah, it is a patient, a part of your culture. That to me is a huge question, because
Hmm.
it's it's not, people don't want to just experience the culture of the employees that are there all the time. That's a huge part of it. That's a huge part of it. But so are they. Like you said, they make up the lion's share of everything that's going on there.
I know.
So
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 why not include them?
Right. Absolutely. I completely agree. Thank you so much for doing this conversation with me. I think it's been
You're
awesome.
welcome.
I would love to connect further with you as we move further down the
Sure.
road. There's other social media questions and content
Of
that we want
course.
to talk about, because it's fantastic to connect this with how practices are going to succeed going forward. It's instrumental,
Hmm.
and we know it,
Definitely.
undoubtedly.
Hmm.
Well, if any of this resonates with any of you, please visit iseeclearly.com and submit an inquiry. We'd love to talk to you about remote work, see if you qualify to do it. Thanks for another episode of Optometry Profits Revealed. I'm your host, Peter Precht. Have a wonderful time. Thanks, Dr. Nguyen.
You're welcome.